And moving on from Russia-Ukraine conflict to another tension which is brewing up in Indo-Pacific, which is China and Taiwan conflict. Chinese PLA has launched a large-scale joint live-fire drill around the Taiwan and under the code name of Justice Mission 2025. The exercise involved air, naval and rocket forces and are described by Beijing as a warning against Taiwan's independence and foreign interference. Taiwan condemned the drills as provocative while reiterating its democratic identity, as tensions also rise involving US, Russia and Japan. So what exactly is happening in the Taiwan Strait? Why China is launching repeated military exercise? To discuss this issue, I am being joined by a keen China watcher, Howard Zhang, who served in Beijing as a BBC correspondent and now remains a keen China watcher. Welcome to India Today Global, Mr. Zhang.
Thank you.
My first question to you. PLA has kicked one of its biggest live fire military drill in Taiwan Straits, and that too in just days after US announced a massive $11.1 billion arms package for Taiwan. What's the main message Beijing is trying to send here?
The message is multifold, of course. First of all, it's a message for the Taiwanese. It's to saying we're normalizing this almost a show of force as a, they frame it using the word justice, legal, and we are the new order in the area. We're the de facto new order, and we can quarantine you and ring fence you as well as chokehold you whenever we want. This is the first message to scare the locals on Taiwan Island. But of course, it's also a domestic message for the population that the ruling Communist Party, President Xi, is in firm control. And the third, but not the least, is a message for US and its allies. This is our turf. And if you look at this time, the formation, the areas they send military troops to, and concentrated on, besides the strait, it's actually outside the strait. It's on the eastern side of Taiwan, which is, the what they call beyond the first island chains. And yes. That's almost telling the US and its allies, including Japan and others, that we can deny your entry into the area if we want to. So I guess this is the basic messages to Taiwan, to the mainland itself, as well as to US and its allies.
Absolutely, Mr. Zhang. And this is the sixth exercise China has launched within a span of 3 years. We'll come to that point. But let us look at the Taiwan's message as well, because Taiwan's defense ministry has openly showcased a US-made HIMARS and that could hit the target in Fujian. How do you think Beijing will read that kind of response from Taipei? And could this spark more back and forth escalation here?
First of all, the communist government in Beijing has never given up officially the goal of militarily take Taiwan if necessary. And of course, they've been talking about peaceful reunification, quote unquote. And but the goal of reinforce this idea of one China only has never been given up. So that's just the fact. And the one reason many would see deter in Beijing from actually taking action is the capability and the risks involved, as well as the strategic fallout that will come with an actual kinetic war. So I can't say, even with the escalation in tensions, I can't say I see a military conflict tomorrow, but you can definitely see a trend of Beijing slowly, gradually, but surely ramping up the pressure.
Absolutely, Mr. Zhang, because if you see the statistics, since August 2022, when Nancy Pelosi visited Taipei, and after that, China launched an operation there, a military drill, similar military drill there, and thereafter we have seen this is the sixth military drill, live fire drill, which is being conducted by the Eastern Theater Command of China. So full encirclement of the port blockade, simulation of amphibious landing, everything is being, is being worked out here. Does that signal a long-term shift in Beijing's Taiwan strategy under President Xi Jinping? Because often this has been reported that President Xi Jinping has already directed the PLA to remain prepared for Taiwan integration by 2027. Many analysts think that these drills are starting to look less like routine exercise and more like rehearsal for a real blockade or an invasion. How seriously should we take that message right now and that risk right now?
Yeah, what you said, rehearsal, is definitely one part of it. But as I mentioned at the beginning, it's a deliberate making the world understand this is what they call normalization of this type of actions. So this would no longer be, it's almost a desensitization of, a few years ago, if Beijing mounted, when they mounted the first few of these type of blockades or rehearsal blockades, the world was alarmed. But if this continues, it becomes a routine. It's almost giving them the legitimacy of doing this in the area. I think that's the main goal now. So if this continues and becomes a routine, they don't need to then have a daily incursion of flights. They can just say, I can do this. It's similar. There's a parallel you can see with the pre-war, Russia moves near Ukraine. And so there's a lot of that buildup. But whether, again, we don't know when and where this actual thing will happen. That is a big million-dollar question.
Absolutely. But Mrs. Zhang, whenever that will come, that will have wider ramification because this will not be limited to only Taiwan Strait. Looking at the bigger picture here, what do these latest drills mean for the regional stability and for the US-China ties, as well as the alliances with Japan, Philippines, and even Russia, because there is a reaction by the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov as well, as far as the Taiwan situation is concerned?
Yes, of course, this impact will be felt by all sides. First of all the players in the area, chiefly US, Japan, and Taiwan, will start to really look closely and calculate their own capabilities. And besides the US sale of a massive package of arms to Taiwan, just before that, the Japanese Prime Minister Takaichi also mentioned, if Taiwan is at risk, then Japan is at risk. This is also triggered a lot of angry backlash from Beijing, but it just shows all the eyes are in this, what they called chokehold area, because huge volumes, the majority of trade going between East Asia to the West go through Taiwan Strait, South China Sea, Indian Ocean. And of course, the US and India has full control over the Indian Ocean and the Malacca, but beyond Malacca into South China Sea and Taiwan, that chokehold at this moment is international waters. But if hostility ever were to break out in the area, and all the major powers will have to do their calculation, because even India has massive trade with East Asian countries, and if something in the Taiwan Strait happens, it will impact on all people, and so the U.S. will have to do their calculation. So does Japan and all the other powers.
But Mrs. Zhang, as we are talking about a wider picture here, you mentioned about the Indo-Pacific here and the interest of India as well. But recently we have seen increased Chinese assertion, because recently they are conducting live-fire drills around Taiwan, but also in the Philippines exclusive economic zone, there has been Chinese ship, and there is a statement by the Philippine Coast Guard that they have objected to the presence of the Chinese ship there. Recently, there are missile tests conducted by North Korea as well. Is anything brewing up in this region, specifically in the Indo-Pacific region, which we should be concerned about and which we should be cautiously reading about?
The bigger picture, I guess most of our audience possibly already are aware, is the overall rivalry between the bloc that's loosely aligned, China, Russia, Iran, and with the existing status quo powers of the post-World War II Pax Americana, or the American-led world order. They are challenging the US on all fronts. In Europe, you got the Ukraine war. In the Middle East, Iran and its allies or proxies are challenging U.S. power, status quo, via hit on Israel, and now you also have China ramping up the pressure. So none of this is isolated for me, and all of that, at the bottom line, is trying to see how the U.S. and its what they call declining powers of the West will react, and many will use the term gray zone warfare. So lots of this showing the force, but not actually engage in direct hostility, and pushing the pressure points, and seeing, using, they've also used the cutting off supply temporarily of rare earth minerals, and hitting the Philippines, which is a U.S. ally in the area. Lots of those tactics is what they call the gray
Absolutely,
zone
Mr. Zhang. A lot of points of confrontation are building up between these two powers, and we have to see if another fault line is getting activated in the Indo-Pacific region. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts and for being in the show. Thank you very much.